and we welcome him, as always, to our Friday show. Good morning, Freddie.
Good morning, Roger, sir. How are you, my friend?
Very good. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Absolutely. The same right back to you and all my Capital District family as well.
Well, you got a lot of fans in the Capital Region. You know that, Freddie. And any big plans? You laying low this holiday season, traveling, or just chilling with the family?
Well, we're definitely chilling with the family, but as usual, Denise and I make our sojourn to South Carolina, where we do that every holiday season. So we'll be leaving tomorrow to go down there to South Carolina and hang out with family. So we're really looking forward to it like we normally do every year.
Well, enjoy, my friend. Always nice to get a little bit of a break. There's no doubt. You watched the Giants last night. What was your thought about the 24-19 loss and really the performance of Eli Manning with 3 interceptions?
Well, I tell people all the time, division matchups, especially rivalry division matchups, you just never know what's going to happen, because for the Philadelphia Eagles, this was their playoff game. They know they're not going into the playoffs, and they know that the Giants are going to be in the playoffs. But if you want to build momentum for next year, what better way to do that than by beating a team that's trying to not only get into the playoffs, but maybe had outside hopes of winning the NFC East. But with Eli Manning, I wonder how you're going to turn this around if you're the New York Giants, because he has not played well the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we know how critical quarterback play is in the National Football League, and you can't have him throwing that many passes, because that means your running game is not working. And then you get close to the red zone, you're not able to deliver in the red zone. Now, to be fair, Sterling Shepard was held on that play. They missed that play. That should have been a pass interference against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then who knows what happens. But it still does not mask the fact that Eli Manning has not played well, and they need to get that going in the final regular season game when as you try to make your run into the playoffs.
I agree with you, though, Freddie. I mean, is that just going in the books as a good no call? And to Sterling Shepard's credit, after the game, he said, you know what, I got to make that catch. But hard to make the catch when you got a defender that's hooking your arm.
Well, it's kind of hard to make a catch when somebody is mugging you and taking your wallet. It's kind of hard to do anything in that situation, just Sterling Shepard. And I give him a lot of credit, Roger, for taking the high road, because he could have went on a 140-character rant that would have been Twitter-worthy. But he decided not to do that. So I think that shows maturity of that young man, that he believed that he should have made that play despite what the defender was doing. But also we saw a call on the next possession for the Philadelphia Eagles in which Jordan Matthews had his arm being held by a Giants defender, and no call was made. So I guess you could say 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But those are still penalties that I believe were really blatant that should have been called, one for the Giants and one for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And then there were 2 calls, too, on the roughing the quarterback against the Giants, Eli Apple, that led to an immediate 40-yard touchdown because he went in the tank after he got the penalty. And then Olivier Vernon also with a questionable roughing the passer penalty. Both were very critical calls that went against the Giants last night.
I'm glad you brought that up, Roger, because I'm with the National Football League, even though I think it's hypocritical that they talk about the safety and protecting players. And yet they have the Giants and Eagles playing on a Thursday after playing a Sunday game, but that's another matter for another day. And I'm with them for protecting quarterbacks or defenseless players. You don't want players being targeted or guys leading with their helmet. I get that. I want my stars out there to the best of their ability and also to the best of the rules. But that was too much there, because the one where he's sliding down and he barely touched him, it wasn't as if he created a dangerous situation against the quarterback, Carson Wentz, in this situation. And then the Olivier Vernon, he was already grabbing the quarterback as he made his throw out the pocket. What is he supposed to do? Have ESP in his mind and say, oh, he doesn't have the ball in his hands, I got to hold up. It's hard to do that when you're going 150 miles an hour, when you know you can get pressure on a young quarterback and maybe not knock him out. That's not something you want to do, although that's what they say publicly. We know privately, if you can knock out a quarterback, no coach is going to fine one of his players for doing that. But if you're the referees, I think it gets to the point that they believe, let's throw the flag anyway and err on the side of caution. But that doesn't make it a better game, because you're punishing players who are making good football plays or trying to make a good football play, and yet they don't get rewarded for that. And we saw that in both instances for the New York Giants, and it led to 2 touchdowns in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. The NFL can only do so much, but the referees have to be a lot better than that.
Freddie, is it taking it too far to call the Giants' loss last night a bad loss, considering that Philadelphia had lost 5 consecutive games and New York could have clinched a playoff berth?
I don't know about bad loss, and the reason I say that is because you're playing a division game. I think it would be one thing if it was a bad loss. Let's say if the Giants were 21-6 and let the Philadelphia Eagles win that game. Then to me, that's a bad loss. Philadelphia jumped on them early, and when the Giants made mistakes, they made them pay for it. And you look at the Eagles the way they are now. Let's say they had Lane Johnson at right tackle, who's one of the best right tackles in the National Football League, and he was out because of that suspension for using a PED. If he had been there, you got two guys that are all-pro tackles, left tackle Jason Peters and right tackle Lane Johnson. You saw exactly how that was a big difference for that Philadelphia offensive line, and you can run the football and you keep your defense off the field. So I don't think it was a bad loss from the standpoint of no loss is good, let's put it that way. But if the Giants were up by a big margin, then let the Eagles come back and win that game. That's a bad loss. I'm going to give the Eagles a lot more credit that they made Giants make mistakes. They forced Giants to play catch-up, and the Giants are not able to do so.
Where do you stand on the Buffalo Bills right now with 2 games to go? Freddie, we've talked all week about whether or not Rex Ryan is going to save his job. He wins the final 2 games, Miami, and then the Jets, be 9-7. You think he hangs on to his job if he wins the final 2?
Well, I'm not the owner of the team, but I think it's ridiculous to fire a guy 2 years, especially that if he has a winning record in his second year. To me, that seems to be progressing if you're the Buffalo Bills. But I just believe way too many people in the know, either in that city or connected with the National Football League. And it seems that the Pagula family wants to move on and bring in a new head coach. And I'm thinking if you're the Buffalo Bills, why would you want to be the Cleveland Browns, where it seems that every 2 years you're bringing in a new head coach? It's one thing, let's say, if you were 7-9 like they were last year, and then you're 1-15 this year, then you know what? No coach should survive that. But you're going to not give Rex Ryan another year after this to see if he can continue to progress. And I wonder how much of this, guys, is financially related, because they know if they keep Rex Ryan, they're going to have to keep Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback. And if they do, if he's on the roster after March 1st, they're going to owe him $40.5 million. I wonder how much of that could be financially related, saying, well, if we get rid of Rex Ryan, we can get a cheaper coach and we can get a cheaper quarterback. This way we're not on the hook for a lot of money when it comes to that. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that they don't think that Rex Ryan is the right coach for them. But I guess because we all live on planet Earth, and I know how people can be when it comes to finances, I just wonder how much of this potential move that seems that is going to happen in Buffalo could be a lot of financial considerations when it comes to the coach and when it comes to the quarterback and Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And I honestly believe there's a fighting chance. They go 9-7. They have a hard time showing him the door after just 2 seasons in Buffalo. Well, we'll see how it plays out.
Well, Roger, to your point, because then you have a players' revolt, because the players are going to say, so you really don't care about us as an organization. You talk about we want to make sure we put the best product on the field. Everybody criticized Rex Ryan when they started 0-2, and he fired his offensive coordinator. People thought he was not going to make it past week 4. And look how they played ever since. The offense has been better. LaShawn McCoy shows why he's one of the best running backs in the National Football League. And think about the games that they lost. With that Seattle game, they were the victim of too many bad penalties, including a couple that were called against them that should not have been called. This team has been in every game. They had the Oakland Raiders. They were just knocking them out in the first half. So we're not talking about a team that's gotten lucky. They've played better, and they've looked better ever since he made that move to fire the offensive coordinator and bring in Johnny Lynn. Why would you want to retard that progress and start all over again with a new head coach when it seems as if the players respect the guy, they're playing hard for the guy, and they've been able to win for that guy ever since the first 2 weeks of the season?
Freddie, if you could only watch one of these 2 over the holiday, which would it be? Kansas City against Denver or Pittsburgh against Baltimore?
Wow, Roger, that's a really good question, because Denver's in must-win mode and Kansas City wants to rebound. But to me, Pittsburgh-Baltimore, it's like a family reunion gone wrong anytime those 2 teams get together. And it's always good football when they play against each other. And so much on the line. Pittsburgh wins that game, they're going to win the division championship. If the Ravens win, they have the tiebreaker advantage because they would have been able to beat Pittsburgh twice in the regular season. And Pittsburgh's going to have an easier game because they're playing the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns will be 0-16 when it's all said and done. But if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you're playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati doesn't like Pittsburgh. They have equal hate for the Baltimore Ravens. So you know they want to do everything they can to make sure that the Baltimore Ravens are not going to get in. So that's the game I would love to watch. Joe Flacco has played really well for this team down the stretch. We know what Ben Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell can do. You have 2 defenses in Baltimore, one of the best defenses in the National Football League. And that Steelers defense has started to show that they can play that kind of defense that can help this team have a great run in the AFC. It's a tough choice, but I'm going with that one, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, because of past history, and I think much more is on the line compared to the Chiefs-Broncos game.
Freddie, Merry Christmas. Do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
It's funny. I think one of my favorite Christmas movies is It's a Wonderful Life. It's always a great Christmas movie. But another one of my favorites that may not be regarded as a Christmas movie is Coming to America. I mean, not Coming to America, excuse me, Trading Places, because it takes place around Christmas time. They go to have the whole thing with New Year's, and then they put Randolph and Mortimer under the rug by taking all their money away from them. So it's not a Christmas movie per se, but Trading Places, that's a Christmas movie that I like that no one regards as a Christmas movie.
Freddie, you're the best, man. Always a pleasure every Friday. Look forward to it next week as well. And again, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
And Merry Christmas to you, my brother, and always good to talk to you. And take care, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
You got it. Freddie Coleman with us from ESPN, Freddie and Fitz on ESPN Radio.